3:17 a.m. The phone didn't ring, it screamed. Unknown caller, 212 area code, Manhattan. I hadn't slept in years, not since the heart scare, not since the nightmares of snow and silence. I answered anyway, old habit. Mike? The voice was rusted chains dragged over concrete, barely human. It's Jake! My brother. Dead 22 years. Avalanche swallowed him whole in the Cascades, December 11th, 2001. Search and rescue found his snowboard 3 days later. One edge snapped clean. No body, just a closed casket. A grave I visit every birthday with a red rose that freezes by morning. The handset slipped, cracked on the floor. Jake's dead, I choked. I know what they told you, he rasped. But I didn't die. I woke up in hell with no name, no memory, no past. Took 2 decades to claw my way back. Prove it! A pause that tasted like blood and snow. You still got the scar from the night we stole Dad's Chevy and kissed that oak tree at 90? Ice flooded my veins. Nobody knew that story. Not Lena, not the cops, not even Mom. Portland, he whispered. Bus station. I'm waiting, Mike. Don't make me disappear again.
My name is Mike Brennan, and the night my dead brother called from the grave, I learned that some bodies don't stay buried. They just go underground and keep breathing. I didn't wait for Lena to finish her sentence. I was already yanking on boots, grabbing keys, the Tacoma's V6 roaring to life in the driveway like it knew we were racing the devil himself. The digital clock blinked 3:22 a.m. as I peeled out of our quiet Seattle suburb, tires screaming on wet pavement, headlights carving tunnels through the fog. I-5 South was a black ribbon under sodium lights, every mile marker a punch to the gut, every exit sign a whisper of "turn back." Mile 0. The scar on my left knee burned like it was fresh. 16 years old, Dad's 72 Chevy Nova, cherry red, no seat belts, bench seat sticky with spilled Coke, Springsteen blasting Born to Run on the 8-track. Jake floored it past the oak on Miller Road. 90 miles per hour easy. I screamed. He laughed. The tree won. 12 stitches each. Dad paid the tow truck driver in cash, swore us to silence. That scar was our secret handshake, our blood oath. Mile 3. I hit 85 without realizing it. The speedometer needle trembled like it was scared. My phone buzzed. Lena. Mike, come home. This is insane. I didn't answer. Couldn't. What do you say? My dead brother just called from Portland and knows about the Chevy crash nobody else does? Mile 7. The wiper slapped a frantic rhythm. Rain turned to sleet. I replayed the Avalanche report for the 1,000th time. December 11th, 2001. Jake, 21. Me, 24. Fresh powder dump after a week of storms. Out of bounds. Rookie mistake. Zero visibility. I dared him. One last run, Mikey. You in? I said no. Lena was 8 months pregnant with Riley. He kissed her belly, winked, and vanished into the whiteout. Search and rescue pulled his snowboard out 3 days later. One edge snapped clean. No body. Just a grave I visited every December 11th since, leaving a single red rose that freezes solid by morning. Mile 12. My knuckles went white on the wheel. What if this was a trap? Identity thieves, organ harvesters, some sick TikTok prankster with too much time and a voice modulator. But that voice, raspy, broken, terrified, it cracked on my name the way Jake did when he was 8 and nightmares came, crawling into my bed with cold feet and whispers of monsters under the house. Mile 19. I passed a semi doing 70. The driver flipped me off. I didn't care. My mind was a movie reel on fast forward. Jake at 10, teaching me to ollie on his skateboard in the driveway. Jake at 15, sneaking beers from Dad's fridge and replacing them with water. Jake at 19, getting his first tattoo, a tiny snowboard on his ankle saying, "This is forever, bro." Mile 27. The sleet turned to snow. Flakes the size of quarters splattered the windshield. I turned off the radio. Couldn't stand the static. Silence was better. Silence let the memory scream. Mile 34. I almost pulled over, hands shaking so bad I couldn't grip the wheel. I slapped my face, hard. The sting grounded me. "Keep driving, Mike." He's waiting. Mile 41. A deer darted across the highway. I swerved, tires hydroplaning. The Tacoma fishtailed hard in my throat. I regained control at 60 miles per hour, laughing like a lunatic. Not today, universe. Not today. Mile 59. My phone buzzed again. Lena. The kids are freaking out. Riley's on her way from Denver. Call me. I typed with one thumb. I love you. Explain soon. Sent. Mile 56. The snow stopped as suddenly as it started. Stars punched through the clouds like bullet holes. I rolled the window down. Cold air slapped my face. I screamed into the void, Jake's name, over and over, until my throat was raw. Mile 63. A rest stop. I pulled in, pissed behind a dumpster, bought a burnt coffee from a vending machine that took my last 5 1/4. The coffee tasted like ash. I drank it anyway. Mile 71. I passed the exit for Centralia. Remember Jake's first job, flipping burgers at the Dairy Queen there. He'd come home smelling like fryer grease and teenage rebellion. Mile 78. My eyes burned. I hadn't blinked in miles. I rubbed them, saw spots, the road blurred. I slapped my face again. "Stay awake, Mike. He's waiting." Mile 85. A cop car paced me for 3 miles. I slowed to 65. He pulled alongside, shone a spotlight in my window. I gave him a weak wave. He nodded, sped off. Close call. Mile 92. The Tacoma's gaslight blinked on. I coasted into a Chevron in Chehalis, filled up with shaking hands. The clerk, a kid with a neck tattoo, eyed me like I was a serial killer. I paid cash, didn't speak. Mile 98. Portland city limits. The skyline glowed like a promise. My heart jackhammered. What if he wasn't there? What if he was? Portland Greyhound at 5:42 a.m. looked like the end of the world. Fluorescent lights buzzed over cracked linoleum stained with God knows what. A janitor mopped the same puddle for the 10th time. I spotted him instantly, hood up, knees bouncing like pistons, clutching a paper cup like it was the only warm thing left on earth. He stood when I got close. The height was wrong. Jake had been 6'2", built like a linebacker. This man was 5'9" at best. Shoulders curved inward like a question mark, spine bent from years of carrying invisible weight. But the eyes, storm cloud gray, mom's eyes. Mike. One word and I was on my knees in the middle of the terminal, arms around a stranger who smelled like wet cardboard, smoke and something metallic, blood maybe. His bones were sharp under my grip, like hugging a coat rack wrapped in flannel. We didn't speak until the diner across the street. He ordered 6 eggs, 12 strips of bacon, 4 pancakes, hash browns, a milkshake, and a side of sausage links. Ate like a man who'd forgotten food existed. Between bites, the story poured out like poison from a wound. Woke up in a motel off Highway 97. Head split open like a melon. No wallet, no shoes. Clerk called me John Doe. Next thing I know, I'm in the back of a rusted Ford with 3 guys who smelled like chainsaw oil and cheap whiskey. They said, "You work or you disappear." I worked. He rolled up his sleeve. The scar was there. Puckered, pale, 12 stitches worth, but newer ones crisscrossed it. Cigarette burns in perfect circles, a jagged line from a chainsaw kickback, a puckered hole that looked like a bullet graze. A thin white line from a barbed wire fence. DNA. Now. The lab in Seattle opened at 8. We were first in line. The tech, a kid with a man bun and a nose ring, raised an eyebrow at Jake's appearance but took the swabs without comment. Results by noon tomorrow, cash only for Rush. I slid 500s across the counter like it was Monopoly money. We killed 24 hours in a motel off Aurora Avenue, the kind of place where the ice machine hums like a dying animal and the sheets smell like bleach and regret. Jake showered for 43 minutes. When he came out, the mirror was fogged from his sobs. Water dripped from his beard onto the carpet in perfect circles. I bought him clothes at Target, jeans that actually fit, a flannel that didn't smell like despair, boots that weren't held together with duct tape. He kept touching the fabric like it might vanish if he blinked.
That night, he asked questions like a child waking from a coma. What happened to Mom's rose garden? The one with the yellow blooms that smelled like summer? Did Dad ever fix the carburetor on the Nova? He swore he would after the crash. Who won the '04 Super Bowl? I had $20 on the Pats with Tommy from the firehouse. Did Riley play soccer? She was always kicking that damn ball in the backyard. Is the old oak still there on Miller Road? The one we hit? I answered until my voice gave out. Then he asked the one that broke me. Was there a funeral? I nodded. Closed casket. I picked the music. Springsteen. Thunder Road. You always said it was our song. Said it was about running from the past and never looking back. He laughed. Short. Sharp, like glass breaking in slow motion. Figures. You always were the sentimental one. I was the idiot who actually ran. The lab called at 11:57 a.m. 99.98% match. Full siblings. I put it on speaker. Jake's knees buckled. He hit the carpet hard, forehead to the floor, shoulders shaking so violently I thought he'd shatter into 1,000 pieces. I knelt beside him, hand on his back like when we were kids and thunderstorms rolled in off Puget Sound, lightning flashing through the blinds like strobe lights. We drove north in silence, until the Cascades loomed like Judgment Day. Jake's knuckles went white on the door handle. Take me there. I wanted to argue. The roads were shit, the closure overrated. But the look in his eyes, wild, hunted like a wolf caught in a trap, stopped me cold. We turned off at Stevens Pass. The trailhead was deserted. The sign half buried in snow like a tombstone, leaning drunk. He led the way like he walked it yesterday. 20 minutes in, he stopped at a stand of Douglas firs so thick the sunlight barely touched the ground. The snow was waist deep, pristine except for our boot prints. He dropped to his knees, pressed gloved hands into it until they disappeared. He was here. Buried alive. Thought that was it. Then hands, rough hands, calloused like sandpaper, digging me out. I thought they were angels. Wasn't angels. His voice cracked like ice on a thawing lake. I crouched beside him. Who were they? Loggers. Moonlight crew. Illegal operation. Needed a body that wouldn't talk. They gave me a new name, Jasper. Said if I tried to leave, they'd put me back in the snow and let the wolves finish the job. Said my family would never look for a corpse. He stood suddenly, spun in a slow circle like he was seeing ghosts in the trees. They kept me 3 weeks in room 12. Concussion so bad I pissed blood for days. Fed me oatmeal and lies. Said the Avalanche took care of the rest. Said I was lucky to be alive. We stayed until the cold numbed our fingers and our breath hung in the air like frozen ghosts. On the drive back, he slept against the window, breath fogging the glass in perfect circles that looked like targets. Home was chaos in the best way. Lena opened the door and froze, then launched herself at Jake like a missile, wrapping him in a hug so tight I heard his spine crack. The kids FaceTimed from college screaming so loud the neighbors probably heard. Riley flew in from Denver with her fiancé, Ben, who took one look at Jake and muttered,
Holy shit, it's really him. We ate lasagna standing up, passing the newborn, my grandson Leo, around like a football. Jake held him like he might break, eyes shining with something I hadn't seen in decades. Wonder. Therapy started Monday. Dr. Patel's office smelled like lavender and old books. She specialized in recovered memory and PTSD. Jake went twice weekly, came home wrung out but lighter, like someone had siphoned off a decade of poison. Nightmares still came. Snow, suffocation, the sound of chainsaws at 3 a.m. But now he woke reaching for my hand across the hallway, like when we were kids and the dark felt too big. Spring brought green to the mountains. And a job to Jake. Kayak rental on Lake Washington, outside, no forms, cash tips. He bought his first smartphone with his own money, spent hours staring at family photos like they were artifacts from another planet. One night he showed me a selfie with Leo, both of them grinning, chocolate ice cream smeared on their faces. "This is what happy looks like," he said. I forgot it had a face. June brought new memories, not just flashes, full scenes in Technicolor. He'd wake up speaking Spanish. Once he made tamales from scratch, hands moving like they'd done it 1,000 times. Lena found him in the kitchen at 3 a.m. crying over masa dough. He said, "I worked a ranch in New Mexico, 2011. They called me Javier, paid me in cash and tequila. There was a girl, Rosa. She had a laugh like wind chimes in a desert storm. She taught me to rope calves and kiss under mesquite trees." We flew to Albuquerque the next day, found the ranch outside Santa Fe, dusty corrals, horses that looked as tired as Jake. The foreman, a grizzled man named Louis, remembered Javier instantly. Vanished one night after a fight with the cook, left his boots by the bunkhouse, best hand I ever had. Rosa had moved to Tucson. We found her at a diner off I-10, hair still black as midnight, eyes sharp as broken glass. She took one look at Jake and dropped a tray of plates. They talked for 6 hours. She gave him a photo. Jake, sunburned, arm around her, both laughing at something off camera. He kept it in his wallet like a passport to a life he'd forgotten. July, the nightmares shifted. Now they were about water, drowning, a river at night. He woke up gasping, convinced he'd been thrown off a bridge. We followed the memory to the Columbia River Gorge, found a spot near Hood River where the guardrail was bent outward like a broken rib. A local cop remembered a John Doe pulled from the water in 2015, hypothermic, no ID, muttering about the crew. They'd released him after 72 hours when he wouldn't talk. Jake stood at the railing, wind whipping his jacket. "They dumped me here. Thought I was dead. I swam. Don't know how, just kept moving until the current spat me out on a sandbar near the Dalles." August, he got his first paycheck with his real name on it. Jacob Brennan. He framed it, hung it in the garage next to the snowboard I'd kept waxed for 22 years like a shrine to a ghost. September, he started coaching Leo's t-ball team. His voice went hoarse from yelling encouragement. The kids called him Coach Jake. One night a parent approached, said her son had night terrors about monsters under the bed. Jake knelt, looked the kid in the eye, and said, "Monsters are real, but so are second chances. You just gotta swing harder than they bite." October, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a Polaroid. Jake, unconscious, strapped to a motel bed with zip ties. A man in a black ski mask held a knife to his throat. On the back, scrawled in red Sharpie, "Some ghosts don't stay buried. See you soon." We took it to the cops. They reopened the Avalanche case as a possible kidnapping. Found Calder, the foreman, in Walla Walla State Pen. He'd been shanked 3 months prior in the yard. Dead men tell no tales, but their enemies do. November, a former crew member reached out through Dr. Patel, said Calder had bragged about rescuing a kid from the snow, then selling him to a trafficking ring that supplied labor to illegal cobalt mines in Idaho. Jake had escaped during a cave-in, walked 47 miles barefoot through grizzly country before collapsing outside a diner in Coeur d'Alene. The waitress fed him pie and called an ambulance.
December, we testified before a federal grand jury in Seattle. Jake wore a suit for the first time in his life, navy blue, tie slightly crooked. His testimony, calm, unflinching, voice like gravel over steel, made the front page of the Seattle Times. The ring was dismantled, 12 men arrested. One of them, a guard named Vargas, sang like a canary to shave years off his sentence.
January 2026, Jake started a foundation. Second Snow, helping trafficking survivors rebuild identities. First grant went to Rosa's nephew, who'd been smuggled across the border at 14 and forced to pick oranges in Florida. February, Leo turned 1. Jake baked the cake. Chocolate with blue frosting, lopsided but perfect. He cried when we sang Happy Birthday, tears cutting clean tracks through the flour on his cheeks. March, he got a tattoo. On his forearm, over the scar. "I got you, little brother." Same words I'd said the night of the creek jump when he was 8, and terrified of the dark water. April, we scattered Mom's ashes at the Avalanche site. Jake read a letter he'd written to her every year on the anniversary. Finally, aloud. The wind carried the words into the trees like smoke signals to heaven. May, he proposed to Rosa in the diner where they'd reunited, over burnt coffee and cherry pie. She said yes with a laugh like wind chimes in a desert storm. June, we bought the motel off 97, the one where they'd kept him, condemned, but we got it for $47,000, pennies on the dollar. Jake turned room 12 into a memorial, white walls, a single chair, a plaque, "For the ones who crawled out of the dark, you are not alone." July 4th, we lit fireworks in the backyard. Jake held Leo on his shoulders,
both of them screaming with delight as rockets burst overhead in red, white, and blue. Lena caught it on video. I watched it on loop for days, frame by frame, until I could see the exact moment Jake's face changed, the moment he realized he was home. August, Second Snow opened its first safe house in Spokane. Jake cut the ribbon with a chainsaw, the same kind that had scarred his arm. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. September, he found the waitress from Coeur d'Alene. Her name was Marlene. She'd kept his hospital bracelet all these years. Gave it to him in a Ziploc bag. John Doe, 7/14/2015. He wore it on his wrist like a badge of survival. October, we hiked the ridge again. This time, Jake carried a small wooden box. Inside, the splintered snowboard binding I'd kept for 22 years. He buried it at the base of the firs where he'd been pulled from the snow. "Time to let the kid rest," he said. "The new me gets to live." November 11th, 2025. Exactly 23 years since the avalanche. We stood at the empty grave in the family plot. The stone still read, Jacob Brennan, 1979 to 2001, beloved son and brother. Jake laid a spruce bough on it, whispered something I couldn't hear. "This is for who I was," he said. "The new me gets to keep walking." We didn't speak on the drive home. Didn't need to. The silence was full. Some nights he still wakes screaming, snow in his lungs, chainsaws in his ears. Some mornings I find him in the garage waxing a new snowboard, his own, bought with his own money, edges sharp enough to cut glass. But we show up every damn day. Because family isn't the years you share, it's the choice to keep choosing, even when the story rewrites itself in blood, snow, and second chances that feel like miracles, wrapped in barbed wire and held together with duct tape and hope. But the story didn't end there. December 2026, Second Snow expanded to Portland. Jake hired Marlene as outreach coordinator. She knew the streets,
knew the shelters, knew how to spot a ghost walking. January 2027. Jake found the truck driver who'd picked him up after the cave-in. Guy named Hank, retired now, living in a trailer outside Missoula. Hank cried when he saw Jake. "Thought you were a goner, kid. You were barefoot, bleeding, talking to the trees." February 2027. Rosa gave birth to a daughter. They named her Hope. Jake held her like she was made of glass, whispering, "You'll never know the dark, baby girl. I'll make sure of it." March 2027, we sued the logging company, won $2.3 million. Jake donated every cent to Second Snow, bought a second safe house in Boise. April 2027, Jake started a podcast, Ghosts in the Snow. Survivors told their stories. Episode 1, his own. Downloads hit 1 million in 48 hours. May 2027, Leo started calling him Papa Jake. The first time, Jake dropped a plate in the kitchen. Shards everywhere. He didn't care. June 2027, we went back to the oak tree on Miller Road. It was still there, scarred but standing. Jake carved our initials into the bark, MB plus JB, right over the old crash mark. July 2027, Second Snow went national. CNN did a special. Jake wore the same Navy suit, tie still crooked. August 2027, he bought Dad's old Nova at an auction, restored himself, cherry red again. We drove it to the Avalanche site, windows down, Springsteen blasting. September 2027, Rosa and Jake got married in the backyard. Leo was ring bearer. I walked Jake down the aisle. He cried the whole way. October 2027, we found the cave-in site in Idaho, a memorial now. Jake left a snowboard, new, waxed, edges sharp. November 11th, 2027, 26 years. We hiked the ridge at dawn. Jake carried Hope in a backpack. She giggled the whole way. At the top, he pulled out 2 cigars. Cheap, but we lit them anyway. "To the ones who didn't make it," he said. "And to the ones who did," I answered. The smoke curled into the pink sky. Below us, the valley spread like a promise kept. Jake took a drag, eyes on the horizon. "Think Mom knows? She's probably yelling at Dad for smoking in heaven." He laughed, the full, rusty sound I'd missed for 2 decades, now polished smooth by love and time. We're still learning the shape of this new life. Some nights he wakes screaming. Some mornings I find him in the garage waxing Hope's tiny training skis. But we show up every single day. Because family isn't the years you share. It's the choice to keep choosing, even when the story rewrites itself in blood, snow, and second chances that feel like miracles, wrapped in barbed wire and held together with duct tape and hope.
If this story left you staring at your phone at 3 a.m. wondering who might call from the other side, then stop and do 3 things right now. Smash that like you're breaking through the ice. Hit subscribe, plus ring the bell. Next Truth drops in 48 hours. Miss it and you'll regret it forever. Comment your what if. What if your brother called tonight? I read every single one. This isn't just a story, it's a second chance. Do it now.